24 hours. That's how long it took for my husband to marry his mistress after burying my father. I stood outside that courthouse, 7 months pregnant, watching through the glass doors as David signed the marriage certificate with Jessica. The same hand that had held mine at our wedding now held hers. The same smile he gave me once now belonged to someone else. But here's what David didn't know, what nobody knew. The janitor he'd mocked for 3 years? The man whose hospital bills he complained about paying? My father wasn't just a janitor. He was Robert Hartwell III, heir to a $5.2 billion fortune. And he'd just left everything to me. David walked away from a pregnant billionaire thinking he was escaping poverty. If this story got you hooked, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe, because what you're about to watch would leave you speechless. Tell me in the comments which city you're watching from, I'd really love to know. Now let's dive into it. My name is Sophie Richardson. 3 weeks ago, I had a husband, a father, and a simple life in a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. Today, I have none of those things. Well, that's not entirely true. I have something else now. Something my father spent his entire life hiding from me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all began, to the moment everything I thought I knew about my life shattered into a million pieces. The fluorescent lights in Mount Sinai Hospital burned too bright at 3 a.m. I'd been sitting in that green vinyl chair for 16 hours straight, watching the rhythm of my father's breathing slow down with each passing hour. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer moves fast. 3 months from diagnosis to this moment. My father's last night on earth. Sophie. His voice was barely a whisper. I leaned closer, clutching his weathered hand. The same hands that had cleaned floors for 30 years. The same hands that braided my hair when I was 6. The same hands that walked me down the aisle 2 years ago. I'm here, Dad. I'm right here. His eyes, still sharp despite the morphine, locked onto mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you years ago. Dad, you need to rest. No. His grip tightened with surprising strength. Listen carefully, Sophie. Your husband, David, he's not who you think he is. My stomach twisted. What do you mean? I've seen the way he looks at you since the diagnosis. The impatience. The resentment. The way he checks his phone when you're crying. Tears burned my eyes because I knew it was true. David had been distant for months. Cold. Always working late. Always with excuses. I've made arrangements, Dad continued, his breathing labored. In my safety deposit box at Chase Manhattan. Box 1247. Everything you need is there. Proof of who I really am. Proof of what you're about to inherit. Inherit? Dad, what are you talking about? He smiled, that sad, knowing smile I'd seen 1,000 times but never understood. I'm not just a janitor, sweetheart. I never was. My father took a shaky breath and told me a story that rewrote my entire existence. His real name was Robert Hartwell III, not Robert Richardson. Hartwell, as in Hartwell Industries, one of the largest manufacturing conglomerates in America. His grandfather built an empire. His father expanded it. And my father was supposed to inherit it all. But then he met my mother. She was a teacher from Queens, he said, his eyes distant with memory. Beautiful. Kind. Real. Everything the women in my world weren't. But my family, they said she was beneath me. That she was after the money. So you left it all. I chose love, Sophie. I chose your mother. And when you came along, I chose you too. I changed my name, took a job as a janitor at that elementary school, and raised you the way your mother and I always wanted, with values. With character. With love that wasn't transactional. My mind reeled. Dad, you're telling me you're... What? A millionaire. Billionaire. $5.2 billion to be exact. And it's all yours now. The machines around us beeped steadily. Somewhere down the hall, a nurse laughed at something. The normal world continued while mine imploded. I set up a trust 3 weeks ago, he continued, his voice growing weaker. The moment I realized David was planning to leave you. Yes. Sophie. I knew. A father knows. How? He asked me about your inheritance when he visited last month. Asked if you'd get anything when I died. When I told him I was just a janitor with nothing to my name, I saw it in his eyes. Relief. He was already planning his exit. The memory hit me like a freight train. David had visited my father alone. Said it was to check on him. Came back weird. Distant. That was when things really changed. So I protected you, Dad said. Everything is in an irrevocable trust. David can't touch a penny. Even if you're still married when I die, the prenup he made you sign is worthless because there's no marital property to claim. The fortune is yours. And your child's. He squeezed my hand one last time. Let him go, Sophie. Let him walk away thinking he's escaping poverty. Then build a life so magnificent that his regret becomes his prison. Those were the last words my father spoke. He died at 4:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, with my hand in his and a secret that would change everything. Have you ever discovered something about a loved one after they passed that completely changed how you saw your entire life? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. Now, the funeral was in 3 days. And I had no idea my husband was already planning his next wedding. It rained the day we buried my father. Not the soft, poetic kind of rain you see in movies. This was angry. Cold. The kind that soaks through your black dress and into your bones. I stood at the graveside with maybe 15 people. Former co-workers from the elementary school. A few distant cousins I barely knew. Mrs. Chen, the lunch lady who used to sneak my dad extra cookies. And David, my husband, checking his phone. How much longer is this going to take? He whispered, not even trying to hide his impatience. I stared at him, rainwater mixing with my tears. My father just died. I know, Sophie. I'm sorry. But I have a meeting at 3. A meeting? Yes. An important one. The Henderson account is. Get out. He blinked. What? If you have somewhere more important to be, then go. I don't need you here. For a moment, something flickered across his face. Guilt. Shame. But it vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by that cold mask he'd been wearing for months. Fine. I'll meet you at home. He didn't. Mrs. Chen squeezed my hand after the service. Your father was so proud of you, sweet girl. He used to talk about you all the time. Said you were stronger than you knew. If only she knew how much I'd need that strength in the next 24 hours. I sat in my father's apartment that night, surrounded by 30 years of a simple life. The worn couch where we'd watched game shows together. The bookshelf filled with westerns and mysteries. The small kitchen table where he'd taught me to play poker. Insisted I learn to lose gracefully and win humbly. Everything felt hollow. My phone buzzed. David calling. Hey, I answered, my voice raw from crying. Listen, I'm going to stay at Mike's place tonight. You probably need space anyway. To grieve. Space. Yeah. I'll come by tomorrow. We need to talk. Those 4 words. We need to talk. The universal precursor to devastation. But I was too tired to fight. Too broken to care. Okay. I hung up and pulled my father's jacket around me. The one he wore every day to work. It still smelled like him. Irish Spring soap and coffee. That's when I noticed his laptop on the desk. He'd been meticulous about privacy, but grief makes you reckless. I opened it. No password. That alone should have told me something was wrong. My father always had passwords. The screen showed his email. The last message sent was to someone named Harold Ashford at Hartwell & Associates. Harold. It's time. She needs to know everything. The trust is finalized. David, took the bait perfectly. Asking about inheritance like I was livestock he was appraising. Protect my daughter. Protect my grandchild. They're all that matters now. Robert. My hands shook as I scrolled through more emails. Communications with lawyers. Financial advisors. Private investigators. Wait. Private investigators. I clicked on the folder labeled David Chen Full Report. And my world shattered for the second time in 48 hours. The report was thorough. Brutally, devastatingly thorough. David Chen had been having an affair for 6 months. 6 months. Since the week after I told him I was pregnant. The woman's name was Jessica Martinez. His senior marketing associate. The one he'd mentioned casually over dinner. The one whose Instagram I'd never thought to check. Until now. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers and searched for her profile. There she was. Beautiful. Polished. Everything I wasn't with my swollen ankles and exhausted eyes. And there, buried in her photos from 2 months ago, a picture tagged at a restaurant in Manhattan. You could see someone's hand in the frame. A man's hand. Wearing the watch I'd given David for our first anniversary. I scrolled further. More photos. Carefully cropped. But if you knew what to look for, and now I did, the evidence was everywhere. A reflection in a window showing David's face. A caption that said, "Best dinner date," with a heart emoji. A blurry background shot at a company event where David's arm was clearly around her waist. My father had known. He'd hired investigators and documented everything while I was oblivious. Glowing about my pregnancy, talking about baby names and nursery colors. The report included text messages. The investigators had somehow accessed David's phone records. David to Jessica. Just a few more months. Once the old man dies, I'll handle the divorce quietly. She'll be too grief-stricken to fight. Jessica to David. What if there's an inheritance? David to Jessica. There won't be. I asked him directly. He's a janitor with nothing. Trust me, I'm not leaving money on the table. I'm leaving nothing. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. I didn't sleep. I sat on that couch all night, reading and rereading the report, looking at those photos, memorizing every lie. At 8 a.m., my phone rang. David. Hey, I'm downstairs. Can I come up? My voice came out flat. Dead. Yes. He walked in 3 minutes later, looking nervous. Guilty. Like a man about to do something terrible. Sophie, we need to talk. So you said. He sat across from me, couldn't meet my eyes. This isn't easy for me to say. Then don't. He looked up, surprised. What? Don't make this harder than it needs to be, David. You want a divorce. So let's get divorced. His mouth opened. Closed. How did you? How did I know? I laughed, and it sounded broken even to my own ears. Maybe it was the way you disappeared the night of my father's funeral. Or maybe it was the 6 months of late nights at the office. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the Instagram post Jessica made last week showing off her new necklace. The one that looks suspiciously like the one from Tiffany's that went missing from our bedroom. The color drained from his face. Sophie, I can explain. No need. I found your explanation in my father's files. He had you investigated, David. Knew everything. The affair. The plan. The timeline. He knew you were waiting for him to die so you could leave me without looking like a complete monster. David stood up, defensive now. Your father had no right. My father had every right. You married me, David. Promised to love me in sickness and health. Then the second I got pregnant, the second my father got sick, you found someone new. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. I was standing now too, shaking with rage. You're a coward. You couldn't even wait until after the funeral. Couldn't give me 1 week. 1 week to grieve before destroying what's left of my life. He pulled out papers from his bag. Divorce papers. Already prepared. Already signed on his end. I'm sorry, Sophie. But this hasn't been working for a long time. We both know that. You'll be better off without me. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. You're right, I said quietly. I will be better off. Sign the papers on the table. I'll have my lawyer send them back to you. He looked relieved. Actually relieved. Thank you for being reasonable about this. Reasonable. He left the papers and walked to the door. Paused. For what it's worth, I did love you once. Get out. He did. And I waited exactly 30 seconds before pulling out my phone and dialing the number for my father's email. Hartwell and Associates, how may I direct your call? Harold Ashford, please. Tell him Sophie Richardson is ready to open the safety deposit box. Chase Manhattan Bank on Park Avenue doesn't look like the kind of place a janitor's daughter would visit. Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Security guards in suits that probably cost more than my rent. I walked up to the counter, still wearing yesterday's clothes, probably looking like I'd just crawled out of a grave myself. I need to access safety deposit box 1247. The woman behind the counter, Margaret according to her nameplate, looked me up and down with barely concealed skepticism. Name: Sophie Richardson. She typed something into her computer. Frowned. Typed more. Then her expression changed completely. Miss Richardson. Of course. Please, follow me. The shift was instant. From skeptical to practically bowing. She led me through a maze of corridors to a private room with mahogany walls and leather chairs. I'll need to verify your identification and get the key from our vault manager. This particular box requires special authorization. Special authorization. For my father. The janitor. 10 minutes later, a man in an expensive suit entered. Not just any employee. The vault manager himself. Miss Richardson, I'm Thomas Hartwell. Your father's cousin. I stared at him. Cousin. I've been waiting for this day, he said gently. Your father made me promise not to reach out until you came here yourself. He wanted you to choose this. Not have it forced on you. He placed a long metal box on the table between us. Everything you need is in here. Documents. Letters. Keys to properties you don't know exist yet. And the truth about who your father really was. He squeezed my shoulder and left me alone with the box. My hands shook as I opened it. On top of everything else was a letter. Handwritten. My father's careful script. My dearest Sophie. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And if I know you, and I do, you're probably angry with me for keeping secrets. You have every right to be. But please understand, I didn't hide my wealth to deceive you. I hid it to protect you. To give you something more valuable than money. Character. When I met your mother, my family told me she was beneath me. That she wanted my money. They were wrong, but it made me realize something. Wealth attracts the wrong people for the wrong reasons. I didn't want that for you. So I became Robert Richardson. I cleaned floors. I packed your school lunches. I drove a 15-year-old Honda. And I watched you grow into the most remarkable woman. Not because of money, but despite the lack of it. You learned empathy by watching me respect every person I worked with. You learned humility by helping me count change for groceries. You learned that a person's worth isn't measured by their bank account but by their character. David left you because he thought you were poor. Let him go, sweetheart. Let him marry his mistress and live with the consequences of underestimating you. The Hartwell way isn't revenge. It's elevation. Rise so high that the people who abandoned you can only watch from the ground as you soar. In this box you'll find stock certificates for 17 major corporations, deeds to commercial real estate across 12 states, an art collection valued at $400 million, access codes to accounts totaling $600 million in liquid assets, and documents establishing the Richardson Foundation. $500 million set aside for women in crisis, single mothers, and children who need champions. Your total inheritance is approximately $5.2 billion. But here's what I need you to understand. This money doesn't define you. It never has. You were wealthy the moment you were born because you were born with a heart that sees people, not portfolios. Use this money to build something beautiful. Help people the way I wish I could have helped your mother when she got sick. Be the safety net for women who are where you are now. Pregnant, grieving, betrayed, and feeling powerless. You are not powerless, Sophie. You never were. I love you more than all the money in every bank in the world. Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. After I could see through the tears, I started going through the documents. Stock certificates. Apple. Microsoft. Amazon. Companies my father apparently helped fund in their early stages. Real estate portfolios. Office buildings in Manhattan. Shopping centers in Texas. Luxury apartments in Miami. But it was the final document that made everything click into place. A legal brief dated 3 weeks before my father's death. The day after David visited him in the hospital. Establishment of irrevocable trust. All assets of Robert James Hartwell III to be transferred to Sophie Marie Richardson, with the following protections. 1. Assets cannot be accessed or claimed by any spouse, past or present. 2. In the event of divorce proceedings initiated before knowledge of inheritance, all protections remain in effect. 3. Prenuptial agreements signed under false pretenses, misrepresentation of wealth, are hereby nullified. 4. Trust cannot be contested, dissolved, or modified except by the primary beneficiary. My father had built a fortress around me. David couldn't touch a single penny. Not now. Not ever. The divorce papers he'd handed me this morning? Worthless. The prenup he'd made me sign, saying what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine? Based on the lie that I'd bring nothing to the marriage. I pulled out my phone and took a photo of one of the stock certificates. Sent it to the number Harold Ashford had texted me from. My phone rang immediately. Miss Richardson. I've been expecting your call. Mr. Ashford. I need to understand something. My father set up this trust 3 weeks ago. Yes. The day after your husband visited him in the hospital. Your father called me personally. Said, Harold, the wolf just showed his teeth. Time to protect my lamb. He knew David was planning to leave. He knew the moment David asked about your inheritance. Your father was many things, Miss Richardson, but naive wasn't one of them. He built a billion-dollar empire by reading people. And he read David Chen perfectly. I took a shaky breath. What do I do now? Now. Harold's voice warmed. Now you sign the divorce papers David gave you. Let him think he's getting exactly what he wanted. Freedom from a broke pregnant widow. Then you come to New York. We have a lot to discuss. When? How about tomorrow? I'll send a car. No. I looked at myself in the bank's bathroom mirror. Puffy eyes. Wrinkled clothes. Broken. No car. I'll take the train. I need time to think. As you wish. But Sophie. Yes. Your father told me something before he died. He said, my daughter thinks she's ordinary. But ordinary people don't raise $10,000 for homeless shelters by organizing bake sales. Ordinary people don't volunteer at soup kitchens while pregnant. Ordinary people don't forgive their dying father for keeping secrets before they even know what those secrets are. My throat tightened. He said you were extraordinary. And the world was about to find out. I left the bank with a briefcase full of documents and a heart full of purpose. At home, I spread David's divorce papers on the kitchen table. Read through them carefully. He'd been generous, actually. Offered me $50,000 as a settlement. Probably felt guilty. I picked up a pen. Signed every page. Then I texted him. Papers are signed. You're free. I hope she makes you happy. His response came 30 seconds later. Thank you for being mature about this. I'll send someone to pick them up. Mature. I almost laughed. Then I opened Instagram. Found Jessica's profile again. Her latest post was from 2 hours ago. A photo of her left hand. A diamond ring. Engagement ring. The caption. When you know, hashtag just said yes hashtag new beginnings. They'd gotten engaged. Less than 48 hours after my father's funeral. The comments were already rolling in. Friends congratulating her. Coworkers liking the photo. Nobody knowing that her fiancé was still legally married to a pregnant woman. I took a screenshot. Then I did something my father would have been proud of. I commented, "Congratulations, Jessica. David is so lucky to have found someone who shares his values. May your marriage be everything mine wasn't. All the best from his wife for now. Sophie." I hit post. Then I turned off my phone and went to pack for New York. Question time. If someone betrayed you this badly, would you expose them publicly or handle it privately? And would you warn the other person what they're getting into? Drop your answer below. Because I was about to learn that being a billionaire means having power, and I was about to use mine in ways David never saw coming. My Instagram comment went viral overnight. I woke up the next morning to 847 notifications. Screenshots of my comment were all over Twitter, Reddit, even TikTok. People were digging into David's profile, Jessica's profile, finding photos they'd tried to hide, connecting timelines. The court of public opinion had reached its verdict. Guilty. Jessica's engagement post now had thousands of comments. Most of them weren't congratulatory. Imagine being proud of breaking up a marriage to a pregnant woman. The audacity to post this right after his father-in-law's funeral. Homewrecker energy is real with this one. David called 17 times. I didn't answer. Jessica sent me a text. "You had no right to embarrass me like that. This is between you and David. Leave me out of it." I replied, "You involved yourself the moment you started sleeping with my husband. But congratulations on your engagement. I meant what I said. I hope you get exactly what you deserve." She blocked me. Good. I had bigger things to focus on, like the train to New York that was leaving in 2 hours. Hartwell and Associates occupied 3 floors of a building in Midtown Manhattan. The kind of building with a doorman who opens the door before you reach it. The kind of lobby with sculptures that probably cost more than most people's houses. I gave my name at the reception desk. The woman's eyes widened. "Miss Richardson. Mr. Ashford is expecting you. Top floor. The elevator is waiting." The elevator opened directly into a penthouse office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Furniture that looked antique and priceless. And standing in the center of it all was Harold Ashford. 70 years old, silver hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing. My father's best friend and attorney for 40 years. "Sophie." His voice cracked with emotion. "You look just like your mother." That made me cry again. I'd been doing a lot of that lately. He pulled me into a hug. Not a formal, awkward hug, but a real one. The kind that says, "I loved your father and I will protect you because that's what he asked me to do." "Come sit," he said gently. "We have much to discuss." He led me to a conference room where 3 other people waited. Financial advisors. Estate managers. All people who'd been secretly managing my father's fortune for 15 years while he mopped floors. "First things first," Harold said. "The trust is ironclad. David cannot touch your inheritance. The prenup he made you sign is nullified because it was signed under fraudulent pretenses. He claimed you'd bring no assets to the marriage, which was technically true at the time, but your father's will specifically states that any prenup signed before knowledge of the inheritance is void. So I'm safe. You're more than safe. You're untouchable." One of the financial advisors, a woman named Patricia, opened a leather folder. "Your father was meticulous, Miss Richardson. He's been liquidating certain assets over the past 6 months, converting them into structures that protect both you and your child. You have immediate access to $50 million in liquid funds. The rest is in various investments, properties, and trusts that will provide income for generations. $50 million. Immediate access. I couldn't even conceptualize that number. Your father also established the Richardson Foundation," Harold continued. $500 million designated specifically for helping women in crisis. Single mothers. Abuse survivors. Women leaving bad marriages. He wanted you to run it. Me. He said, and I quote, My daughter has spent her whole life helping people with bake sales and spare change. Imagine what she'll do with $500 million. The room blurred with tears again. I don't know how to run a foundation. You'll learn. And you'll have a team. But Sophie, Harold leaned forward, his eyes intense. Your father didn't want you to just survive David's betrayal. He wanted you to thrive. To become so powerful, so successful, so undeniably remarkable that David would spend the rest of his life knowing he walked away from greatness. Patricia slid another document across the table. This is a proposal for the foundation's launch event. Your father planned it before he died. A charity gala at the Metropolitan Club. 200 of New York's most influential people. Philanthropists. CEOs. Old money families. And you, introducing yourself as Robert Hartwell's daughter and announcing the foundation. When? 3 weeks from now. My hand instinctively went to my belly. I'd be 8 months pregnant by then. Perfect, I said. Everyone looked surprised. I want them to see me pregnant, I continued, my voice stronger now. I want everyone to know that David Chin left his pregnant wife days after her father died. I want that to be the first thing people know about him. Harold smiled. Your father said you'd surprise me. He was right. There's one more thing, I said. I want to invite David and Jessica to the gala. The room went silent. Sophie, Harold started. I want them there. Front row. Watching. Let them dress up and pretend they belong in that world. Let Jessica pick out a dress and imagine herself as my replacement. And then let them watch as I stand on that stage and reveal exactly what David walked away from. Patricia grinned. I like her. That evening, I sent David an email from my new account. One that didn't say Richardson but Hartwell. David, I'm hosting a charity event in 3 weeks to honor my father's memory. Despite everything, you were his son-in-law for 2 years. I think he'd want you there. The event is black tie at the Metropolitan Club. I've included 2 tickets. Please bring Jessica. I'd like to meet her properly. The foundation we're launching supports women in crisis and single mothers. Given our situation, I thought you might appreciate the cause. Best regards, Sophie. He responded within an hour. Sophie, this is very mature of you. Jessica and I would be honored to attend. It's good to see you moving forward positively. I'm glad we can be civil about everything. David. Civil. Oh, David. You have no idea what's coming. I forwarded his response to Harold with one line. They took the bait. His reply made me smile. Your father taught you well. See you in 3 weeks, Miss Hartwell. Miss Hartwell. I was starting to like the sound of that. 3 weeks can feel like forever when you're waiting for revenge. Or justice. I still wasn't sure which one this was. I spent those weeks transforming. Not just externally, though there was plenty of that. Personal stylists, a new wardrobe that actually fit my pregnant body, hair appointments at salons I'd only seen in magazines. But the real transformation was internal. I attended meetings with the foundation's board. Learned about grant applications and nonprofit management. Met with women the foundation would help. Women with stories like mine, but without a secret billionaire father to save them. One woman, Maria, was 34 with 3 kids. Her husband drained their bank account and disappeared. She was living in her car, working 2 jobs, trying to keep her kids in school. I just need a chance, she told me, tears streaming down her face. One chance to get back on my feet. The foundation gave her that chance. First month's rent. Daycare assistance. Job training. When she hugged me, sobbing with relief, I understood what my father meant. This was the real wealth. The power to change lives. The money was just a tool. The Metropolitan Club was built in 1894 by people who had so much money they needed a place to spend it. Crystal chandeliers the size of small cars. Marble staircases. Oil paintings of dead rich people staring down at living rich people. Tonight, it belonged to me. I arrived early, wearing a custom navy gown that accommodated my 8-month belly while making me look like royalty. My mother's sapphire necklace, the one thing my father kept from his old life, sparkled at my throat. Harold met me in the lobby. You look magnificent. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's just morning sickness and nerves. Both will pass. He squeezed my hand. Your father would be so proud. The guests started arriving at 7. I stood at the top of the staircase, greeting them one by one. Senators, CEOs, philanthropists whose names were on hospital wings and university buildings. And then, at 7:43 p.m., David and Jessica walked in. Jessica wore red. Bold choice. Her dress probably cost $3,000. David wore a tuxedo that actually fit him well. They looked like they belonged. That was about to change. Sophie. David's voice was too loud, too jovial. Overcompensating. This is incredible. I had no idea your father knew people like this. Neither did I said smoothly. Thank you for coming. Jessica, that dress is stunning. Jessica smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Thank you for inviting us. This must be difficult for you. We appreciate the grace you're showing. Grace. If she only knew. Please enjoy the evening. Dinner is at 8. The program starts at 9. They moved into the ballroom, Jessica's hand possessively on David's arm. Harold appeared at my elbow. Showtime. Not yet. Let them enjoy dinner first. Let them relax. Think they're safe. Remind me never to cross you. I smiled. My father always said the best victories are the ones your enemy doesn't see coming. At 9 p.m. sharp, the lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage where a podium stood, decorated with photos of my father. Not recent photos, old ones. Him in a suit, shaking hands with presidents. Cutting ribbons at building openings. Accepting awards. Photos David had never seen. I watched his face from across the room. Confusion. Then recognition. Then something that looked like fear. Harold took the stage first. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate an extraordinary man and launch an extraordinary foundation. Robert Hartwell was many things. A visionary businessman, a devoted friend, and a man who understood that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in impact. I saw David lean over to Jessica, whispering something urgent. She shook her head, equally confused. Robert spent the last 30 years of his life living modestly, working as a school janitor, raising his daughter with values that money can't buy. Tonight, we honor his memory by launching the Richardson Foundation. $500 million dedicated to helping women in crisis, single mothers, and families in need. The room applauded. David wasn't clapping. He was staring at the photos on the stage, pieces clicking together in his mind. And now, please welcome the Foundation's director and Robert Hartwell's daughter, Sophie Richardson Hartwell. I stood, placed my hand on my belly, and walked to the stage. The room erupted in applause. I could feel David's eyes on me, burning with realization. I stood at that podium, looking out at 200 of the most powerful people in New York. And in the third row, David and Jessica, looking like they'd seen a ghost. Thank you all for being here tonight, I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. 3 weeks ago, I buried my father. He was a janitor at PS 147 in Brooklyn. He made $32,000 a year. He drove a 2003 Honda Civic. He clipped coupons. I paused, letting that image settle. He was also Robert James Hartwell III, heir to the Hartwell Industries fortune, worth approximately $5.2 billion. Gasps rippled through the crowd. David had gone pale. My father gave up his wealth 30 years ago when he fell in love with my mother, a teacher from Queens who his family said wasn't good enough. He chose love over money, character over status. And he raised me the same way. I looked directly at David. I didn't know about the money until the day he died. Neither did my husband. In fact, my husband was so sure I'd inherit nothing that he asked my father about it directly. When Dad told him there was no money, my husband's entire demeanor changed. He became distant, cold, started working late. Jessica shifted uncomfortably in her seat. What my husband didn't know was that my father saw right through him. Saw the man who'd married me for what he thought was love but was really just settling, waiting. And when my father got sick, my husband found someone he thought was better. Someone who fit his image of success. Sophie. David stood up, his voice cracking. "Sit down, David," I said firmly. The microphone amplified my words. "You wanted to be here. Now you're going to listen." Security moved toward him. He sat. 24 hours after my father's funeral, David married his mistress. I was 6 months pregnant, grieving, alone, and he married someone else. The room was dead silent. You could hear the chandelier crystals tinkling. But my father protected me. 3 weeks before he died, he established an irrevocable trust, put everything in my name, made sure that even if I was married, even if there was a prenup, David couldn't touch a penny. I smiled at him. "So David, you walked away from a pregnant woman you thought was broke. And in doing so, you walked away from a $5 billion fortune. You traded a billionaire for a marketing director." Jessica stood up furious. "How dare you? How dare I?" My voice echoed through the room. "How dare you? You had an affair with a married man whose pregnant wife's father was dying. And you have the audacity to be offended that I'm telling the truth." People were filming now. Phones out. This would be everywhere by morning. "This foundation," I continued, turning back to the crowd, "exists for women like me. Women who are abandoned when they're most vulnerable. Women who are told they're not enough. Women who deserve better." I placed both hands on my belly. "My daughter will grow up knowing what I know now, that your worth isn't determined by who stays or who leaves. It's determined by who you are when everything falls apart." The applause was deafening. David and Jessica ran for the exit. I let them go. The videos went viral within hours. By morning, Billionaire Janitor's Daughter was trending on every platform. News outlets picked up the story. Think pieces were written. David's company started getting calls. Jessica's Instagram was deleted by noon. David tried to call me 47 times that first day. I blocked him. His lawyer sent a letter trying to contest the divorce, claiming fraud. My lawyers responded with a 50-page document outlining exactly how the law worked and exactly how screwed he was. The prenup was void. The trust was ironclad. And David Chen had signed away his rights to a fortune he never knew existed. 5 years later, my daughter Emma just started kindergarten. At PS 147. The same school where her grandfather worked for 30 years. I could have sent her to any private school in the world. But she's learning in the same halls where Grandpa mopped floors. Where he taught me that dignity isn't about where you work, but how you work. The Richardson Foundation has helped over 10,000 women. We've provided housing, education, legal assistance, and hope. Maria, the woman in the car, now runs one of our community centers. Last week, I saw David at Emma's school drop-off. He's remarried. Again. Not to Jessica, she left him 3 months after the gala, according to the gossip sites. This new wife seems nice enough. He tried to approach me. "Sophie, can we talk?" "About what?" I want you to know I'm sorry. For everything." Emma tugged my hand. "Mama, we're going to be late." I looked at David, really looked at him. He'd aged. Gray hair. Tired eyes. The weight of regret. "I forgive you, David," I said quietly. "Not for you. For me. Because I'm happy. And I hope you find happiness too." His eyes filled with tears. Emma and I walked away, her small hand in mine. She asked me, "Who was that man, Mama?" "Someone who taught me an important lesson, sweetheart." "What lesson?" "That sometimes the people who leave do you the biggest favor." My father used to say that wealth has nothing to do with money. He was right. I'm wealthy because I have a daughter who laughs at my terrible jokes. Because I've helped thousands of women find their footing. Because I know who I am regardless of my bank account. The money. It's just a tool. A very, very useful tool. But still just a tool. David thought he was leaving poverty. Instead, he left everything that mattered. And I learned something profound from his betrayal. Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize you never needed it in the first place. My father gave up billions for love. David gave up love for billions he didn't know existed. One of those men died happy. The other one has to live with himself. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt abandoned, underestimated, or left behind, I want you to know something. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. Hit that subscribe button if you believe in justice, karma, and the power of never giving up on yourself. Drop a comment telling me, what would you do with $1 billion if you suddenly inherited it? Would you expose the people who wronged you, or would you just build something beautiful and let them watch? And if you know someone who needs to hear the story, someone going through a divorce, dealing with betrayal, or feeling powerless, share this video with them. Sometimes we all need a reminder that the best revenge is a life so beautiful that your enemies destroy themselves watching it. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, sometimes the people who walk away do you the biggest favor. They make room for the life you were always meant to have. Until next time.